Go. Chat is open. Phone lines are open. 910-444-0281. Call in, chat, ask questions, have fun. Yeah, that's the type of day we're going to have. Absolutely no plan, no sleep. What a weekend. Holy cow. Go to the website, bigtalker.live. Download the app for Android and iOS devices. Pair that smart device with your automobile's entertainment system. And I promise you will be able to take the Big Talker anywhere, everywhere you want to be, everywhere you have to go. You can also peruse our schedule of content. And of course, send an email with any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, or I don't know what happened. That's absolutely whack. Ha! Something happened to my left channel. Well, part of it works. Seems like we have most of it happening, so. It's too early in the morning. I'm not going to deal with it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. You know what? I'm just going to... I think I'm going to... Oh, there we go. Well, that's part of it. Let's just do boom. That'll fix that. All right. Yeah, we're back to some sense of normal. I'm good with that. Don't have a lot prepared because it was a busy weekend. One of this town's most iconic individuals, Mr. Rivenbark, departed this world as memorably as he lived it. I gotta tell you that. I wasn't there for it. A friend of mine was. They actually did a second line with New Orleans style. Man, what a day. Yesterday was our last day on the Bald Head Island. If any of y'all are planning to head out to Bald Head Island, I warn you now, it is a complete mess. I don't know what happened with the Bald Head Island Transportation Company buyout takeover, or whatever you want to call it, but yeah, they ruined that. It is the most miserable experience anymore. We got to the island, and there was only 2 people manning the dock and 2 people driving. So by the time we were able to discover our tram, we discovered our tram was actually gone. Well, there was only 2, so one was loading up and one was still unloading people and heading back. So eventually the club said, enough of this, because it's going to be 45 minutes before anybody's available. So the club dispatched 2 of their own golf carts, and came and picked us up down at the dock at the marina. And yeah, it was pretty brutal. And of course, not getting there. Oh. Yeah, it's dead silence while I figure this out. Now I gotta come up with a big name here. Hang on, I gotta look at little things. Okay, so hang on, I gotta go re-educate people on how this works. All right, There we go. Getting ready for our guests later today, including Mr. Bill Moore, the chair of the Brunswick County GOP. They have a lot going on. Incredible support of the station from them, which, is huge, keeping us on the air, as it were, looking to expand, looking to add even more video content to our already slamming collection. Ah, geez, really, computer? You're going to do this to me again? Really? Absolute crap. Just like dealing with Bald Head Island transportation. Not something you want to do. I promise. Oh, well, that is... This is what happens when I cannot secure a morning person. Even though I have an experienced morning host on staff. Just doesn't want to wake up in the morning. But hey, that's fine. That's fine. I don't even have news stories open. I should. I'm still trying to deal with the tech on, dead sleep. Because we got back from the island. Yes, on the way back, they finally got a whatcha-doodle to me. Not what I want. So yeah, we made it back to the boat. Minutes. I mean, we were loading the dolly as the boat was docking. It was pretty brutal. So that was an end of an error. Never see that idea. Ooh, this is a story that might work with me, right? Looking to develop a little romance in your life, right? What do you do for a first date? You go to a coffee shop, you go to a restaurant. A lot of options for a first date, but this one I think is like unstoppably unbelievable. Coming out of Fox 10, Arizona, or Phoenix, Arizona. Chris Williams writing about about this first date. A couple accused of burglarizing a church and playing piano on their first date. Hendersonville, Tennessee. Oh, I see. This is how it works. Arizona reporting on Tennessee because Tennessee doesn't have the literacy component necessary to compose such an article. Henderson, Tennessee. A couple was arrested and charged after police said they stole from inside a church. They later confessed they just wanted to play the piano on their first date, according to local reports. Police in Hendersonville, Tennessee, said Sebastian Spencer, 20, and Danielle Salvatore, 19, are charged with burglary and theft under a grand. They are set to appear in court on September 14th. Police tell Fox television stations that their arrests came after an investigation of burglary at a church on the 200 block of Indian Lake Road on August 18. Authorities said the couple had located an open door and entered the church before stealing several items. The act was caught on surveillance video. According to WKRN, authorities said the couple met on a social dating app and admitted they broke into the church because they knew the church would have pianos. Logical. Authorities further told the outlet that the couple played the piano for about 30 minutes and stole several items, including 4 Bibles, 2 drumsticks, and a collection plate. The pastor noticed the theft the next day and called authorities. Indian Lake Peninsula Church Administrative Pastor Drew Altum spoke to WKRN, saying he would reach out to the young couple. I would tell them, don't let this one incident define you. Learn something, and together let's continue to grow. We all make mistakes, but we are all held accountable for those mistakes as well, Altum told the outlet. So yeah, that's a great first date idea, don't you think? That's pretty awesome. We're just going to go steal from a church and play the piano. That's all I ever wanted, was to play the piano. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Wait. I don't know if I'm reading this headline right, because I'm still working on my first cup of coffee. But if I'm reading this right, the headline alone is enough to make you kind of scratch your head. Jonathan Lairfield from Marine Corps Times. This is going to be awesome. This is from the military guys himself. Apparently, a Greek town was left scrambled. I like what they did here. This is going to be awesome. A Greek town was left scrambled after Marines ate all of the city's eggs and meat and overindulged on tattoos during a recent training exercise visit with the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. Oh, that is epic. Marines and sailors visiting the northeast and military port city of Alexandroupoli, Greece, put their appetites to work this past May, as reported by the outlet Greek Reporter in July, and later by Task and Purpose, overwhelming local business owners. Oh my goodness. Yesterday, 1,500 people had breakfast in Alexandroupolis and ate sausages, eggs, and bacon. See, they were scrambled, said restaurant owner Georgios Alavantas. According to Greek City Times, yesterday, 6,000 to 7,000 eggs were needed. In other words, we don't have eggs. Another restaurant owner, Vasilis Siklafidis, told the outlet they have gone crazy. They keep telling us that they haven't eaten nicer meat. If somebody you get starved, boy, you get a little, like, you drop them off on a dock somewhere, and they're like, yeah, go deal with yourself. Hey, it's lunchtime. Can you imagine what it was? 7,000 eggs just wiped out the city. No more eggs. But that's good for the homeowners, right? Because all of the TP sessions would only be with the paper. They would not have any, obviously, eggs to be throwing at the house, so you're safe. On May 4, the San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock Arlington, attached to the Kearsarge Amphibious Ready Group, arrived in Greece with the 22nd MEU to participate in a dual U.S.-Greek amphibious training called Alexander the Great 2022, according to a Marine Corps press release. Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Mayet, executive officer of the 22nd MEU, said in a press statement, the training we executed with our NATO allies in Greece reinforced the close relationship between our two militaries and provided an outstanding opportunity to learn from each other and hone our warfighting skills in a first-class training venue. Following the exercise on May 21, the ship docked in Alexandroupolis, Greece. The statement said Captain Jacob D. Giddy, 22nd MEU spokesman, confirmed that mass amounts of egg steaks and tattoos were consumed. I don't know who was consuming tattoos, but okay. By troops visiting the Greek city. The 22 MEU workers continuously boost our relationship with our partners and allies, Getty said. That comes with the training we conduct, but also when we come into port, learning about our partners and allies' cultures is important. And if we are able to boost their economy on a port visit, that's great too. Okay, boosting their economy and tanking their reserves are two different things, dude. Quote, members from the Greece embassy passed to our higher headquarters from the Greek leaders. We're super pleased with the economic boost and that we enjoyed ourselves. Nikos Katsoulis, the owner of a local tattoo studio, told the Greek City Times Marines travel all over the world. So tattoos are crucial for them to have a memory when they grow older to say that they passed through Greece and I got this tattoo. We used to do it with postcards. I don't know. It is common for Marines to explore the area of their port stops, enjoying the hospitality and contributing to the economy of the local town. Georgios Davis, former president of the Alexandroupoli Hospitality Association and grill house owner, as reported by the Greek outlet Kathin Marini, said, I served 16 different types of meat at my restaurant, and they tried them all. They were very polite. They ate everything. The outlet also reported U.S. troops ate more than 25,000 eggs during 4 days at the Greek port. The military relationship between the United States and its NATO partner Greece, which joined in 1952, recently has grown closer in part to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Greek Minister of Defense Nikolaos, visited the U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin at the Pentagon in July, where they discussed this, among other regional issues. I want to thank you for the security assistance that Greece is providing to support Ukraine in the face of Russia's indefensible assault on its peaceful neighbor, Austin said to the Greek defense minister, according to a DoD transcript. During their meeting, Austin also discussed the strategic importance of access to the port of Alexandroupoli, Greece, the named city where troops only a few months earlier were shelling out for the local cuisine. That access allows us to continue to provide military assistance to Ukraine and to counter malign actors and exercise and operate in the Balkans and Eastern Mediterranean and the Black Sea region, Austin said, according to a DoD statement. The defense secretary, however, did not mention the incident in Andrew or even how he likes his eggs. Both the war in Ukraine and the recent outbreaks of bird flu have caused the price for merely a dozen eggs to skyrocket worldwide, while it is presumed the Greek town has restocked on its egg supply. Since May, rising inflation in Greece may have contributed to costly shopping trips post the Marines' arrival, with the country's inflation hitting a nearly 30-year record high in June. According to the Greek Reporter, even as of July, the cost of dairy and eggs was up 16.4%, according to Greek City Times. Greece may soon have more control over its economy, however, as it was scheduled to leave a monitoring framework by the European Union on August 20, as reported by Reuters. The unusual situation in Greece for the MEU is not the first time troops have overwhelmed a foreign port city during an overseas exercise. Back in 2018, U.S. sailors and Marines made news after they drank much of the beer supply of Iceland's capital. Following its time in Greece, the Arlington and the 22nd MEU traveled to other port stops in and around Europe. Currently, the Kearsarge ARG MEU is conducting an exercise with Finnish military personnel, focusing on interoperability and building relationships with our future NATO allies and partners, Getty told Marine Corps Times in August. As one Greek reporter who covered the egg incident wrote, in the northern Greek port city of Alexandroupoli, May 21, 2022, will be remembered as the day the ship appeared. Gaston! Hey, Gaston, we have no eggs. I don't know if y'all remember Gaston, but he was a character in a Disney movie, and his thing was eating like a dozen eggs every morning. And we did the math on it just for fun, and it's like they had to have an endless supply of chickens for Gaston to be chomping down on that many eggs every day. But man, that's like chicken abuse, hardcore chicken abuse. Because you're prime. How did he put it? I got to go back to the top of this thing. Hang on. 6,000 to 7,000 eggs a day. That's a busy chicken. I mean, that's a lot of chicken. So when the Marines pull into your port, it's a good thing they got money in their wallet, but these are big boys and they hungry. So, to have your restaurant completely wiped out of anything to eat for the next week, that's our sailors right there, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we are going to have a special and fantastic guest, Mr. Bill Moore, one of the more active supporters of the Big Talker Network with his program, All Things Brunswick, on Tuesday night. And I promise it'll be fun. So during the break, while you're listening to all the wonderful news and supporting supporters, advertisers, etc., you can go to the website and send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques you may have. Peruse the schedule of content. And when you come back, we will have an intelligent discussion with an actual adult. And I promise it'll be fun. So, as I keep telling you, don't go nowhere. The Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, will be right back after all of that. Did I do it right? There it is.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A send-off fit for royalty over the weekend as the community came together to remember an arts icon. The celebration of life for Tony Rivenbark took people from Thalian Hall into the streets of Wilmington. Rivenbark scripted the event before he died, leaving specific instructions for how he wanted to be remembered. It started at Thalian Hall with speakers, videos of Rivenbark, and performances. After the ceremony, people filled the streets as a New Orleans-style second-line parade led them to the Wilson Center for a reception. Rivenbark's friend and colleague Shane Fernando says the day was very Tony. A man charged with the murder of a Surf City business owner made his first appearance in court on Friday. When the charges were read to 22-year-old Charles Michael Haywood, he was asked if he understood them, and he nodded his head yes. His first appearance took less than 10 minutes. Haywood is charged with first-degree murder of Margaret Nicole Bracey, who was found dead Wednesday night inside her business, Exotic Hemp Company. District Attorney Ben David says Haywood could face the death penalty. A Wilmington police officer patrolling on a horse downtown was hit by an alleged drunk driver Saturday morning. The officer was not injured, but the horse named Elton sustained an injury to his left leg. 24-year-old Alexis Williamson was charged with DWI, improper passing, and failure to reduce speed. She blew a .19 at the time of her arrest. Elton, who has been with the Wilmington Police Department for 16 years, is going through hydrotherapy for the foreseeable future. And the Wilmington Fire Department officially added a new member to its team this weekend. Wilmington Fire Station 2 introduced its newest crisis dog, Heart, on Saturday afternoon. Heart is the second dog the department is deploying to offer firefighters a way to de-stress post-call, ease tensions at the station, lower anxiety, and even improve heart health. They will also be used on emergency scenes to help provide calm for those affected by trauma. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. First day of school for many students here in the Cape Fear, and going to be a bit unsettled at times, so especially if you live closer to the immediate coastline. We have a coastal trough that's going to be bringing us unsettled weather at times, but not expecting any sort of washout in store for us for the first day of school. Temperature-wise, though, going to be below the average for a change in the low to middle 80s for both coastal and inland communities. As for tonight, drier conditions will stick around as our temperatures fall to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Have you heard about Cape Fear's only fitness community exclusively for those over 50? At Full Circle Fitness, we understand that goals, lifestyles, and our bodies change through the decades, which is why our Living Fit After 50 is custom designed to help you get a safe, effective workout without spending hours in the gym. Get started today. Call 910-399-8350 or visit FullCircleFitnessNC.com.
If you're worried your friend may be struggling, remember, you don't have to be there to be there.
You can say, how are you, or get a fake tattoo. You can ask with an app if it works for you. You could chat on the game, kick off your flip-flops. You can ask on your couch while you binge watch. Whatever,
Reach out to a friend about their mental health. Learn how you can help at seizetheawkward.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, and the JED Foundation.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum. As promised, we have adults on the program today. Real adults with real stuff to say. Otherwise, don't forget to go to the Big Talker website, download the app for Android, iOS devices, pair that device with your automobile's entertainment system, and you can take the Big Talker anywhere and everywhere you want to be, including tomorrow night at 6 p.m., coming to you from Bolivia. All right, that'll be
All Things Brunswick.
For All Things Brunswick with Bill Moore, and I believe Mary is back this week.
No, not another week.
Uh-oh. Did she get holed up in a hotel in Ontario?
No, she didn't. One of her relatives was a little ill, so she stayed around to help out a little bit.
Oh, that's
so
okay.
She's due back Thursday, and we'll be back next week.
Okay, so it'll be Bill, Dan, and Greta.
Yep.
And you have a special guest. I forgot his name already, because I'm just separate.
Because Dan arranged it, so I forget. He did the promo. Well, don't remember. But the gentleman is a small business owner who happens to be a gay Republican. And he's going to talk a little bit about what that's like and the difference between parties as they're being treated. So it's going to be, and as an entrepreneur, it's interesting. He runs this shop, interesting workouts. You know, you think about going and getting hot and sweaty. His workouts are in sauna rooms.
Yeah, no.
It's over 100 degrees before you lift the leg.
Yeah, see, that's already in my armpit. I don't need to walk into somebody.
Well,
I'm guessing there are some benefits to it. Otherwise, you know, it would have been shut down by the FDA or something.
Yeah, I guess it's almost an upgrade of old Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies. But
oh man, this is just sweating.
But evidently, people like it, and he's got a successful business. So more power to him. You know,
well,
we individual.
Part of it makes sense that, you know, when speaking with one of the medical professionals, I guess a couple months ago, that when losing weight, the two ways that we actually lose the weight is through our moisture handling, right? Through urination and sweating, as well as through the carbon dioxide of breathing. So when people start walking and they say they've lost weight, they really haven't lost it. They have exercised it out of their body in the form of H2O, really.
Well, yeah, because you also have to remember a muscle is thicker and heavier than just regular cells. So as you start to bulk up, and that's why people bulk up, because they actually get heavier, they get to be, you know, real good shapes like The Rock and people like that. But I always argue that I used to have these massive shoulders, but the weight of responsibility has shrunk them down and pushed them right down. And that's actually what's now located around my waist, is those shoulders pushed down from responsibility. So Dan isn't buying that for a minute, but I tried.
Well, the thing to concern yourself with at this point is with that much muscle mass, you need to be careful in a swimming pool because you'll sink right to the bottom.
I guess. I don't know about that, but
right? Because the fat cells are actually buoyant. So if you have more fat, you will float. But if you become, rock and...
But that's where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the point.
You look at something. I want to take a couple minutes today and talk about something really non-political. It's more the best. Yeah, because it's something that we all, Republican, Democrat, Independent, we all need to be aware of, and we all need to react to it. It's called, and it's one of the reasons we had the problems we had with the lockdowns and the hospitals. It's called certificates of needs.
Is that because all the chickens have given up their eggs? Because the Marines ate all the eggs? That was funny. They, in like 2-3 days, they wiped out an entire city's eggs.
I'm sure.
But and that's non-political. It's just, the Marines come in and they... The one thing I thought was weird when the article said they consumed tattoos. How do you consume a tattoo? They consumed the chicken, they consumed the eggs, they consumed all the meat in the town, and they consumed tattoos.
Well, they could have consumed all the tattoo ink.
Yeah, vegetable base, I hope.
I'm not even going there.
But I interrupted you. I'm sorry. You have something, and I'm still shocked that it's non-political.
My life is my tangent. Anyway, I wanted to talk about something called Certificate of Needs. In North Carolina, they have the hospitals have found a way to stiff or stifle competition. It's called a state law called Certificates of Needs. So, for example, if I wanted to open up a hospital, or I wanted to open up, say, a place that I could do x-rays or all those other tests cheaper than what a hospital can do, I would have to prove to the state that there's a need for that hospital or that my operation, or I cannot get permission to build it.
That sounds counterintuitive to the entire free enterprise process upon which our nation was built.
Exactly, but it exists. And even if a hospital wanted to add additional rooms to their hospital, they have to get a certificate of need approved by the state, or they can't do it.
Now, is this only in North Carolina?
It's a state-to-state thing, so it depends on the state you're in.
Wow. So who's making money on this decision? Because that's going to be the first.
I'm not sure it's not making. If you look at the big hospitals around our state, and there, Novant and other ones that own major hospitals, there's no competition. They can eliminate them, so they can charge what they want to charge. And you can't go
kind of like being in an airport.
Sorry?
Kind of like being in an airport. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, in an airport, they can charge whatever they want, because you're trapped. Where are you going to go to get a, soda?
Well, you got two problems with that. First of all, they can charge what they want. And secondly, because they've limited the availability of testing like that, they've backed up people's time to get a test. For example, my wife needs a test, and and this was in July. Her first availability was the end of September.
So basically, they're hoping that if the patient dies, the problem resolves itself.
I guess that's a way of putting it. But if you think about it, had there not been certificate of needs issues, there would have been more bed space available during the COVID issue.
Oh, well, that seems to be like a real socially aware, socially helpful type of thing. Yeah, I guess. And now, is this a state legislation controlled situation?
It was passed by state law, and it goes back decades upon decades, so it's not something recent.
So we can't go and spank those people.
But
we can repeal it.
It is managed, and they're issued through the I think it's the Department of Health at the state level.
Well, that seems counterintuitive.
I know. Yeah. Again, I know that Dale Falwell, who's again treasurer of the state, is trying to get modifications to that, because it's the simple basis of people. They need more hospital beds, they get more hospital beds. If they need different machines for MRI or something like that, and they got to wait forever, it doesn't help someone who's sick. You have something serious, and you got to wait 2 months before you can find out what's going on. That you don't know what could happen in those 2 months.
I'm sorry. It was the late night getting off the island and early morning, so not all of my neurons are connecting. But what I'm understanding, if I have this right, please straighten me out. I can open up a food truck or even like a hot dog cart with just a couple of slips of paper and maybe $50 in administrative fees. But if I want to save somebody's life or help them by getting a truck, the little trailer with the MRI machine in it, I can't do that.
No, you'd have to prove that it's needed to the satisfaction of the state.
But I don't have to prove a hot dog stand is needed.
Nope.
I don't have to prove that the sex lab is needed, right? Because if we're going to do gender studies in our own community, we don't have to prove a need for sexual affinity. None of that.
In life-saving equipment or testing equipment that would save a life and expand the number of units of that around in an area, you have to get special permission from the state called that certificate.
Okay, what phone number do I need to put on the screen to get everybody to call and reverse this crap? Because this is like death on a profit cracker.
Actually, what they need to do is they need to call their state legislators and tell them that they should take some actions to modify, if not eliminate, the certificate of need program. And that's really what they need to do. Call whoever your state legislators are and tell them that, because they're the ones that would have to pass the law to modify and or change it. I know Dale Falwell, again, our treasurer for the state, has been fighting this for years. He's trying to get legislation passed to handle that.
Can
Because,
you do me
again,
a favor and let him know I want him on my show?
I can arrange it.
Please, because I would like to have, some more, not only information, but ways on what we can do to stop that. I mean, so like Medac, if Medac wants to open up a new clinic in the middle of somewhere that has absolutely no medical care within 100 miles, they have to prove it's needed.
Correct.
It's not
And
like if I open up a skate shop and it's up to the market to decide if it's needed or not.
Yeah, think. But the other part of that that's not known is, let's suppose, for example, I want to open up an MRI unit in in the southeast area down here. Not only do I have to apply to prove the need, the units that have similar things like the hospital has a right to submit something against it.
Wait, the hospital itself?
Well, for example, if I'm putting in a piece of equipment that's in competition with the hospital has a right to be almost a friend of the court, if you will, for want of a better term, to submit, so really that's not needed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a right to write on it also, and then it's ruled that at the state level.
Yeah, we need to stop that.
Well, I will get in touch with Dale Falwell this week, and I'll try to set him up. I'll get you linked up with him, and you guys can set up something to come on the show with you.
Please, and yeah, thank you for opening that one up. And you say it's decades old, so it's we're not really because the parties were not the same decades ago as they are today. So it's probably politically driven for the time, while we suffer in the future.
Well, yeah, there's also a reality that the hospital associations are just tremendously powerful. They have the money, and that's the bottom line. The other side of that, even going forward, Dale, if you ask him, will also talk about the fact he's been fighting for years to get the hospitals to give you an itemized bill rather than you owe me $50,000. He wants you to tell you what the aspirin costs.
And this isn't necessarily state by state.
Yeah, and that's a state by state issue also.
Oh,
to get an itemized list from the hospital. And the hospitals are fighting it, and for obvious reasons.
Well,
they don't want you
to. Yeah, they bury the fees and costs and walk home with bonuses that are in the 9-digit range.
Now, I can't say for North Carolina, but I can say for New York. Just a few years ago, they were charging for a pill, something simple as an aspirin, between $7 and $10.
And you can't and it's almost like being in an airport. Because if you go downstairs to the pharmacy, it's probably going to be $1 more, so it looks like you're getting a deal from getting it in your bedside. And of course, I would have been the guy that stopped at the CVS on the way in and got the house brand 20% discount with my AARP card and snuck it into your Jell-O to try and save you a couple of bucks. Oh man, yeah. This is I don't know if the term pro-life is a fully realized statement. Because if it was pro-life, like probiotic, we would be promoting life throughout life, not just the first 20 minutes and not the last 2 days. Because we seem to care a lot about birth and burial. But everything else, the part that makes up the dash on your headstone, right? Because, mine's going to read 1965 to 2025 or whatever. That dash is the actual representation of your life.
That's true.
And that's the only part that we're not funding in any way, shape, or form, except Brunswick County's community college is really setting a standard for the rest of the state, it looks like.
Yeah, and again, and that's thanks to the county commissioners. Because, again, if you graduate a high school in Brunswick County or homeschool in Brunswick County, you can go to college at Brunswick Community College free. Your 2 years there are free. In addition to that, they've arranged with the county commissioners have arranged with half a dozen four-year schools around the state where you can go from your associate's to your bachelor's degree at a cost of $500 a semester.
Boy, this really flies in the face of the
Student loan program.
loan debt relief program thing going on. That if you can get your entire workable, so that you have an income for the rest of your life, right? You are solvent, you are self-sustaining, you are not on the dole, you are not sleeping in front of the library on 3rd Street. And you can do it for a remarkably affordable amount of money, like free. Because welding is a career that will make you money.
There's a lot of hands-on jobs that'll set you plumbing, carpentry,
electrical, driving.
You will live right for the rest of your life. There will always be work for you.
And you have more than enough leisure time to read, explore, perform, or do arts, right? I mean, you can still pursue the educational or at least intellectual interests that you may still have, but now you don't have to stress your rent. So you can still read Atlas Shrugged or whatever, because, Ayn Rand is still comedy to me, and still do your job. I mean, it's not like your life ends, because I've met a couple of electricians like, yeah, I got a job, I ain't read a book in 20 years, and I don't know what I'm ever going to do with all algebra. I'm like, well, the other 90% of your brain is wasted.
Again, but that's almost a stereotype. And
yeah, how would we encourage them?
That work with their hands, that are, they're men prepared. They do an excellent job, and I love having conversation with them because we can take opposite sides and have a debate, and nobody goes home ready to kill the other.
And that's part of the idea of being self-sustained, is that you have the luxury, the leisure time that the Greeks were talking about, right? Because if you spend your whole life just trying to stay alive, then there's no development of the self. There's no development of the community, like providing our arts, etc. Some cats would even point to our space program, that from the worst of our humanity to the best of our humanity, we still are able to do things like send, Starlink or Dragon or Artemis or whatever the latest name is. Not a lot of countries are doing that. They're launching like bombs at each other. We're trying to get off this planet.
Yeah, it will possible if we can resolve something peacefully, we will, but we are prepared to do what we have to do, which is a good thing. You mentioned the student loan situation from last week.
Right.
I did some research on that, and just to share a little in case people don't know it. What they're saying is you can get either $10,000 or $20,000 of your student debt released or forgiven is the right term they're using. For anyone that makes less than $125,000 a year. Now, think about that number. That's an individual. So, for example, if you're married, your wife or husband is making another $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 in income, that doesn't count. It's just your income. So you could have a home with $200,000 money coming in, and they're getting $10,000 or $20,000 forgiven. Now, if you take that down the road a little bit further, they're also saying that they're going to cap your payments at 5% of your monthly salary. So
that works for me.
That works for a lot of good people. The other thing they're saying, after 20 years, if you're not paid off, they're going to cancel the debt. What becomes interesting, though, when you look at North Carolina residents, only 32% of North Carolina residents and just 38% nationally hold a bachelor's degree or higher. So that's somewhere in the neighborhood, an average of 65 to 68% of the people who did not go to college are going to end up paying the bill for people who did. And to take it the next step, the national average income in nationally was $63,000, round figures. In North Carolina, the average income in 2021 was $56,642. So if you look at those numbers, again, they're relieving people's debt at twice that rate. Where the average, so someone making $63,000 a year who has not got a college degree is going to be paying the cost of this $10,000 or $20,000 for someone that's earning $125.
So none of this. Well, this is me personally, right? This is where you would write an email immediately to Chad to say, get a new morning guy in here. Because I have always maintained since I was in the School of Education that education should be free because our society can only improve with an educated population. That if we make education more and more difficult to attain, and I don't mean, training, right? Because I was trained in electronics, but it wasn't until I got to college that I was able to debate and get into political science and some of the more metacognitive processes involved in our society. That I would like to see more of our people have access to that and not be burdened. So a burden shared, the whole village raising children kind of thing. There's some truth to that, but it is unfair to unleash it at this time to use it as a political, hey, look what we did kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and even go beyond that. When you do a little research on what happened, one of the reasons that college costs are skyrocketing is because when loans were put out for kids by the banks, they would tell you, okay, you want to borrow $50,000 to go to college X, but you're going to come out with a salary of $20,000 or $25,000. You will not be able to repay that. You need to find a different college which you can afford to repay the loan on.
Well, that's
when they go over, they said, go wherever you want. You want $100,000? You got $100,000. And what ended up happening is the colleges could then boost their tuition rates out of this world, and you end up, again, and I'm not using this as particular as a Democrat or Republican. It just so happens I was reading the other day that Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren, also teaches a course at one of the universities, and she teaches a course, and her salary is $400,000.
That's twice the president's salary.
No, the president's getting that now. You're a little behind on that, but
he got a raise?
Oh yeah, he did. They didn't call you either.
How much did George Washington make when he was president? Can you answer me that? He made zero.
I'll tell you, it wasn't $400,000.
It was zero.
I know.
Because we didn't have any money. The first 2 years we were a country, what IRS did we have? We didn't have 87,000 IRS agents marching around with AR-15s. Oh, man, we had like a whole bunch of Americans still pulling carrots out of the ground. So the fact that the president is making this type of money is absolutely insane. I mean, what does he need a salary for? He doesn't pay rent. He doesn't pay mortgage. He doesn't pay food. He doesn't pay traveling. Well, what's he paying for? Meth? Oh, sorry, that was a bad joke. Right? I mean, is he gifting his son? I don't know. I'm still bent on that. I mean, it was supposed to be a public service, right?
Yeah.
And as far as I know, when I do public service, like opening the door for somebody or, I don't know, stopping for somebody who's, had a bicycle wreck and they're bleeding on the knee and waiting for the ambulance to arrive, I'm not paid for that. I'm not paid for being a good person and a good steward. I don't see... Never mind. This is why we need an actual morning show host. Somebody who's had their coffee and isn't out all night trying to play music on an island. Sorry. But still, that's a lot of money.
In 2022, the presidential salary is $400,000.
Good Lord. And I would say he's not earned a dime of it, but...
And he also gets a expense account of $50,000, which is not taxed.
And what's that used for? Laundry?
Well, I'm not sure what, because he lives in a house where he gets free transportation, free food, free electricity, unless he's buying gifts for his family. But I guess you could do it on the $400,000.
And I mean, it's not like, and here's what's weird. We got to see this, I can't remember the late night host, but he went with Obama through the White House and went into the cafeteria to get something to eat. So apparently, in the White House, you can wake up at any time, shuffle down there in your pajamas, and there's somebody in there waiting to feed you food.
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to take that back and correct you on something.
Uh-oh.
The President Washington's salary was set in 1789 at $25,000 per year.
And that was after his first year.
Well, right. He took over in 1789.
Oh, okay. I was pretty sure that they didn't have the money at the time to even do that until the second year. I was misinformed. In
1873, the salary was doubled to $50,000 a year. In 1909, it was raised again to $75,000 per year. In 1949, it reached $100,000. And then in 1969, it went to $200,000. And in 1999, it was set at $400,000.
And I'm guessing these were all voted on the entire time. Cost of living increase, all the stuff.
Congress, that's why every congressman and senator earned $177,000 plus expenses.
That is insulting.
Well, I will tell you this, and they get an average of about, they can get up to $2 million expense money to run their operation in addition to their salary.
Oh, yeah, so they can fly around the country, they can eat at nice restaurants, they can do all the things you and I will never be able to do while we pay for it.
If you ever checked out the congressional offices, they have the world's best gym, the world's best food. There's nothing there they're missing.
The world's best health care.
Yep.
And they don't pay for any of it.
See, as a matter of fact, people years ago tried to get them to pass a law that says whatever health care you mandate for the country, you should be using too. They wouldn't buy that.
Yeah. I'm 100% down for that. Because if nobody is above the law, then we should all be, enjoying the same law. I think.
Okay, I agree with you. But unfortunately, we've created a level of
monster.
Elite. But they don't live in the same world we live in many times.
So the change that we really need is to put normal people in office.
Well, the change we really need is to go back with the thought of the country and nobody was a full-time career politician.
Right. It was as rare as a YouTuber influencer.
You've got people in Congress that have spent 40, 50, 60 years in Congress. They've never seen anything different.
Nope. And they make more money than
the world out there. They don't. They know that little bubble, which is Washington, D.C., which is definitely not the real world. But there's only two ways of getting it done. Either Congress has to pass a law themselves to fix that, to limit their careers, and that's
not going to happen.
Yeah, they're about the same chance as me waking up thin in the morning, or they call the states can get together and do that themselves. There's a group called Convention of States out there, and there's a lot of pushback on them doing it too, because they can do it without Congress. It's a whole process where they call a convention. The convention passes it, certain rules. This will be approved. Every amendment has to do, and then Congress really has nothing to do with it. They're just stuck with the law. But those are the only two ways you're going to get it changed. And do you honestly think any congressman or senator is going to vote to limit their terms in office? No.
Or their salary. Yeah. That's brutal. Oh,
that unfortunately is the real.
Yeah. This is where I'm just like in the morning. I just don't have the reactionary verbiage at my disposal. My brain is just, it's freezing up like an old computer, which I guess is accurate.
Well, it is. And you remember the first Apple computer was fed to Eve, and it was only good for one bite.
Yeah, and it opened up the world.
Yep, you see, that was my bad in for the day.
Well, the original sin is the one that, is the one you voted for. I'm kidding. 'Cause I'm still coming to terms with the fact that it's this early in the morning. So
yeah, it's a lot of things going on. We're in busy time. We're getting ready for elections, and both sides are gearing up to get their messages out, right or wrong. And we'll see how it flows.
Well, I'm hoping we get busy like we were during the primaries, so that we can start doing some debates and some actual events.
All Things Brunswick is going to start gearing up candidates starting in September. And as a matter of fact, I have a meeting this afternoon with some of the people from the Ted Budd campaign who's running for senator. And we're going to talk a little bit about, that's tomorrow, to talk about getting him involved in various things in the show. So, if you want me to check with Ted Budd to see if he wants to come on your show too?
Oh, yeah. That'll be, as many of the voices as we can get so people have a little bit more of a candid insight into their candidates rather than a prepared, platform speech or something of that nature where it's one-sided. for the ability for people to call in or to chat, send complete sentences, TK. To send
And speaking of
questions.
that, if you're in Brunswick on Thursday night, go to the headquarters at 6:30. We have Ted Budd's wife, Mary Kate, coming in to the ladies group, and they're having a forum with her, and she's going to talk about what her husband's plans are, and talk about her husband a little bit to get people to know him, because it's important to know the quality or the character of the people we're electing, not just what they quote, support, end quote.
That's a truism that just is understated all the way around. But I would like to know if the person that I'm voting for, while he may have good policies, is a complete psychopath on the in the community. Then yeah, I think that's a trade we should be aware of.
Yeah, I think that's something important. So Mary Kate Budd will be there 6:30 on Thursday at their headquarters in Bolivia. And if you want to come down and hear her talk, ask her questions, she's going to do kind of a roundtable and answer questions for people. So come on and get involved. Now, the big thing for us is September 9th. We have the lieutenant governor coming in, and he's going to do a dinner for us in St. James. There are still some tickets available if you go to the brunswickgop.org and get your tickets. I'm shutting it down next week because we have to lock in food numbers. And the lieutenant governor is the kind of speaker, if you've never heard him, he's worth listening to. If you want to really look and see his first speech, which propelled him into popularity, if you will, or notoriety, go do Mark Robinson, Greensboro, and you'll hear his speech on the Second Amendment, which made him, it went viral, and that's what propelled him to where he is today. But to hear him talk, I would never be the speaker to follow him, and I don't know anybody that would ever want to follow this man. Man,
you guys just keep it busy over there.
Well, we're trying.
And I think that's an important thing, because it's actual activity in that community. It's not like you guys are going after the federal level. You're looking at your judges, your commissioners, all that at the local level within Brunswick County. And there's enough there going on to fill the Brunswick County GOP on a weekly basis.
Well, we just finished this weekend. We had a yard sale, if you will, for people that wanted to stop by. It is the equivalent of a Walmart bag, the little plastic ones. The bag costs you $5. Whatever you can fit in the bag is yours. And people were getting clothes. There was some household stuff there. There were some kids' games and toys and whatever else. And we had a good time. We had a pretty good showing, and it was good to talk to people and have them stop by. And we even gave you a free hot dog and a drink.
See, that's what the community type of political parties were about when I was younger. Right? The hot dogs, the community, the almost fellowship nature of it all. Not just like-minded individuals, but neighbors. Right? Because these aren't people coming, these aren't tourists that are coming from Alabama or Alaska or, Iowa. These are the people that live and work and breathe in your very neighborhood.
Right. And it gave them a chance to pick up some good items at a reasonable price, because as we know, the cost of everything is just skyrocketing. So if we can help you out with your budget a little bit. And we had conversation. I have to tell you, there was a table there with political information if you wanted to pick it up, but nobody really talked politics. We just talked people talk.
How weird.
It went very well. It was enjoyable.
That's like 100 years out of date, dude.
Well,
you're supposed to text them now.
But maybe we need to go back to that.
When you leave the building, you can turn your phone back on.
I actually thought about collecting phones at the door, but then I had to be responsible for them.
Well, we're working on that. I want to build a little quilt thing with little pockets for each phone, so you can slip your phone in there and charge it while it's sitting in the little thingy, so that you can.
Well, when I was high school principal, they wouldn't let me buy it, but there's a unit out there. It cost about $1,000. I needed 4 of them, and it would block all cell phone signals in a building.
Yeah, they do that for just about every major retail outlet, like Walmart or Best Buy. They blank it out so that you can't, because it used to be, right, you could go in, you could do the barcode, right, and it would pop up on your phone, and then you could get a list of all the prices for that item from all the stores around you.
Right.
You can't do that anymore. Which, in some ways it makes sense, but if somebody's having a, medical issue in the middle of aisle 3, I'm not going to trust the management to get on the horn to bring somebody down here to help me. I would like to be able to dial 911 directly, but that's an issue for, down the road once we get this these other financial issues in the state taken care of.
Well, I agree. I'm going to have to do a sayonara because I have a 10 o'clock meeting in Wilmington, so I got to get out of here.
Well, get out of there, and I will see you tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, so will everybody else.
All things Brunswick.
That's right, 6 p.m. Thank you so much, Bill.
Talk to you again, my friend.
I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys soon. And ladies and gentlemen, don't go nowhere because the Asylum will be right back after these messages. Don't go nowhere. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A send-off fit for royalty over the weekend as the community came together to remember an arts icon. The celebration of life for Tony Rivenbark took people from Thalian Hall into the streets of Wilmington. Rivenbark scripted the event before he died, leaving specific instructions for how he wanted to be remembered. It started at Thalian Hall with speakers, videos of Rivenbark, and performances. After the ceremony, people filled the streets as a New Orleans-style second-line parade led them to the Wilson Center for a reception. Rivenbark's friend and colleague Shane Fernando says the day was very Tony. A man charged with the murder of a Surf City business owner made his first appearance in court on Friday. When the charges were read to 22-year-old Charles Michael Haywood, he was asked if he understood them, and he nodded his head yes. His first appearance took less than 10 minutes. Haywood is charged with first-degree murder of Margaret Nicole Bracey, who was found dead Wednesday night inside her business, Exotic Hemp Company. District Attorney Ben David says Haywood could face the death penalty. A Wilmington police officer patrolling on a horse downtown was hit by an alleged drunk driver Saturday morning. The officer was not injured, but the horse named Elton sustained an injury to his left leg. 24-year-old Alexis Williamson was charged with DWI, improper passing, and failure to reduce speed. She blew a .19 at the time of her arrest. Elton, who has been with the Wilmington Police Department for 16 years, is going through hydrotherapy for the foreseeable future. And the Wilmington Fire Department officially added a new member to its team this weekend. Wilmington Fire Station 2 introduced its newest crisis dog, Heart, on Saturday afternoon. Heart is the second dog the department is deploying to offer firefighters a way to de-stress post-call, ease tensions at the station, lower anxiety, and even improve heart health. They will also be used on emergency scenes to help provide calm for those affected by trauma. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. First day of school for many students here in the Cape Fear, and going to be a bit unsettled at times, so especially if you live closer to the immediate coastline. We have a coastal trough that's going to be bringing us unsettled weather at times, but not expecting any sort of washout in store for us for the first day of school. Temperature-wise, though, going to be below the average for a change in the low to middle 80s for both coastal and inland communities. As for tonight, drier conditions will stick around as our temperatures fall to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
You really don't want to. Welcome back to the Big Talker. Welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker. Still working on it. Still working on the coffee. I've lost my glasses. Oh, what a morning. Ah, there we go. There we go. At least, I mean, if nothing else, this radio program is as honest as it gets. I'm not going to lie to you. I am dead asleep. Okay, not completely asleep. I'm functioning. But it does give you, does give one pause to consider what it is they're doing on the day-to-day. I'm excited about some of the upcoming additions and changes. We should be concentrating on even more of our video content, expanding our audio content, bringing on more programs, more guests, some of which are my own. I'm hoping to develop our production so that the upcoming primary election, right? No, not primary. What's the general election? See, this is my brain just not working. The caffeine's not getting where it needs to be yet. But it all works. It does. It really does. It all works. But we would, I would like to get into some debates. I would like to get into some keynotes. Taking the Big Talker on the road and bringing it to you, because not everybody can go to these meetings and to these debates and speakers. But if we can bring them to you, then we would be providing one heck of a community service, I would think, something that we could all use. And it's also, potential to bring on even more experts that can help us understand things like, the Constitution. Because apparently reading the 5 articles that are useful in the Constitution on air does very little if reading and listening comprehension is at an all-time low across the planet. So having experts who can boil it down and explain it to a 5-year-old may be of great actual interest and usefulness right here on the Big Talker Radio. I do not mean to insult all of our viewers and listeners, but there is going to be a percentage of them that could certainly benefit from an elemental education on how their government works. We are not a democracy. We are a democratic republic. That is, we have representatives to represent our interests, and that's where it all breaks down. Because we have given these people a level of power over our lives inadvertently, which means that we have given them, by virtue of voting for them, the ability or the freedom, if you will, to vote what they believe is what their constituents want. The problem is there's a disconnect between the constituents and the representatives. Mainly because the representatives, whether it's a senator or a congressman or even, a judge or whatever role they're being voted into, it's a very unfair, unfit situation, mainly because, right, they're not interested in their constituents. What they're interested in is career longevity in the hollowed marble halls. And I would even say, using Herschel Walker as an example, that they have no marketable skill outside of this little bubble. They can't change a tire. They can't read a complete sentence. They can't even form a cogent English sentence in many cases. They also do not know their histories, which is how they get ripped apart. I mean, this has happened across the political spectrum, posting something stupid on social media, and anybody and everybody who's read a history book has to step up and go, wait a minute, playa. You got it wrong, man. You got it wrong. This is why it's so important to have history courses. This is why it's important to have civics courses. This is why it's important to have an educated proletariat so that the elites can no longer hold that information, that power, hostage against the rest of the population. This, of course, is my own rant because I've only had a couple hours sleep and I'm doing good just being here, all right? And I love what I'm doing. I love what the Big Talker is becoming. We are growing slowly, but we need your help. Everybody should go to the website right now. Type this into your URL. Just BIGTALKER.LIVE. Big Talker Live. When that page loads, and I should do it just for fun. I'm going to do it in parallel. I need me a new web page right here. So, BIGTALKER.LIVE. Boom. So that web page loads up and it looks fancy. It looks sexy. It is gorgeous with that Listen Live tab right there at the top. But if you go down to the very, very bottom on the left-hand side where it says contacts, has a little info at bigtalker.live. Please click on that button. It'll generate an email that's ready to go, being sent to the Big Talker. And in there, you should say, hey, the Asylum is not a bad show, but your station would really benefit from having an adult in the morning slot. So that would be the button to hit. You go there, send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques you may have, and we will become the radio station that you prefer. And what's cool is it's an internet radio station, so it doesn't matter where you are. You're not limited to a little patch of grass in the southeast section of Carolina Beach. No, sir. If you are at all under the auspices of North Carolina politics, we got you covered. Brunswick County, Pender County, New Hanover County, Onslow County, what's the one, where Chadburn is. I mean, the city's still there. The chief of police is in prison, but the city is still there, right? There's, 100 counties in this state, and I still cannot name you but 5 of them, right? Which is maybe 2% of them all. But that's the idea. We get stronger by expanding. And to help us expand, you can do that by calling in 910-444-0281, joining in on the chat, asking any questions. Let's see what else. The emails, and all that good stuff. Some upcoming stuff, because I just don't have the brain power to process news this morning. Tomorrow, if all goes correctly, we will have a special guest, a PhD in mycology, to help us understand the humongous fungus going on in, I forgot the state, Oregon, I think. We're going to learn a lot about mycology. If you don't know what mycology is, that's why you should tune in tomorrow morning. We will be finalizing our times and schedules later today. Wednesday, with the Cape Fear River Watch Wednesday, we will have Dr. Larry Cahoon on. And what's really cool about that is that we have an example. We have a sample test results. That's it. Okay. So let me unpack this because my brain still hurts. So in our area of the Cape Fear watershed, there has been an issue building building for the last 40 years from the DuPont, or I should say Chemours, nay, DuPont, has been pumping into our water for 1 billion years, or 40 years at least. And, well, Chemours was held to account and had to start testing a bunch of wells. But apparently in testing those wells, it's the interpretation of those results, which is where we here at the Asylum have a bit of an issue. Chemours should not be doing the testing, nor should they be interpreting the results, because they have an interest. They have a vested interest. They have a very acute interest in downplaying as much of those results as they possibly can. In fact, I would not put it beyond them to skew the numbers so that your report, your results look like you are just living the life of vida loco. And we're going to have somebody with a PhD in this stuff who has actually looked at these results before, understands what's in there, understands what's being tested, and understands the alphabet soup of contaminants that are in that soup in the water. That's right. And what's interesting is, the way the scientists work is without any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Oversight. And that's something we need to concentrate on. That's something we need to pay attention to. It's real, ladies and gentlemen, and it's coming for us. And it's not getting any cheaper, any easier, any faster. Why is my phone being so difficult? Huh. Well, that's weird. There we go. There we go. Whew. Our next guest, Paul Valone from Guns, Politics, and Freedom, the show that airs or premieres on Saturday morning and replays throughout the week, will be joining us here in a bit. Grassroots North Carolina is his day gig as director of that all-volunteer process to help people become more, what's the word I'm looking for, aware and involved. Certainly with the slate cards that they send out, that's an amazing chunk of information. And it's something that they spend, just the amount of money in distribution, we're talking $30,000, $40,000. So, it's a pretty big deal for somebody to go out of their way to make sure that we have what it is that we need to vote along the lines that are important to us. So knowing their policies, of independent of their rhetoric, because they may speak a big game, but until you have somebody looking at their voting record, their voting history, and of course their own response to a standardized questionnaire that GRNC has developed. So it's not like they have two flavors, one for the ones they like and one for the ones they don't like. No. It's the same one for everyone. It's about as neutral as he can get and still have accurate data to provide along the axes of consideration for his, for his organization, because people are dialing into that organization to get information from that point of view. Primarily the Second Amendment and other personal freedoms, which of course are very, very important. One of those freedoms I would like to harp on at some point in my life would be the educational freedom. However, we're not ready to have that conversation yet. We're still not ready to have the conversation as to why politicians are making such exorbitant salaries and walking away with even, They're paid, $100,000, $177,000, but, they're walking away with millions upon millions after 10 years in office, 12 years in office, 40 years in office, 80 years in office. I mean, come on, ladies and gentlemen. There's a limit to the effectiveness. And, of course, the corruption happens almost immediately, because what's the first thing they do when they get in office? Do they try and help their constituents? No. They start raising money for re-election in 2, 4, 6 years. Because it's more important for them to maintain a job than it is for them to develop any sort of skill or, legislation. All they got to do is go through the paces, and they're handed a fat check. And the bonus being all kinds of insider information on trading and value and what's going to happen and who's going where and how to get into Elon's pocket or whatever it takes, right? Whose lobbyist is paying the most money for the least amount of work? All this kind of crap. And it's brutal. I mean, this is a system that we need to be involved in, and it needs to be held accountable, that we can look at these people and say, wait a minute, really? Really? You claim to be worth billions of dollars, yet you're begging for money on the daily? Hitting everybody's DMs with begging for money, begging for money. Yeah, I just got into office. Pay me. Because I need to stay here because I have no other marketable skill whatsoever. I mean, say what you will about AOC, but if it all goes south, she can sling drinks. How many of y'all can say that? How many of these other politicians have a backup plan, have any sort of private sector experience whatsoever? Zero. Including the current administration's leader. He has known nothing but these, pampered, just pampered. People bring him food. He hasn't been in a grocery store in 50 years. What's he going to know about inflation? He just goes down to the cafeteria in the White House, and they bring him the food on the little white tray on the plate there. I've never had to cook. I don't even know what a kitchen looks like. What's a refrigerator? So, yeah, when you buy a gallon of milk and it costs more today than it did last week, just want you to know I have no clue, because I ain't bought a damn thing in a grocery store since I became a legal adult. Is that how you want your country run, is by people who have never lived? Years ago, it used to be that our government was made up of regular human beings who held day jobs, and when they were done with their term or two, they went home. George Washington, the first one. Yeah, I'll be your president. Fine. We'll get through this, and when I'm done, leave me alone. I'm done. I did my thing. I did it out of service. I want my country to succeed. I want this to be a working, proper experiment, which is what is still being called the Great Democratic Experiment, which is still wrong. It's a democratic republic, but I'll let that go. When we come back, we will have our special guest, Mr. Paul Valone. It's going to be a little long of a break because I need some coffee. So, give yourself a moment. Go to the website, peruse our schedule of content, download the app for Android and iOS devices. And as promised, when we come back, we will have Paul Valone, our guest. But right now, I'm getting me some coffee. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Big Talker Network. Right here at the Asylum, your refuge in the world. God, man, don't go nowhere.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. A send-off fit for royalty over the weekend as the community came together to remember an arts icon. The celebration of life for Tony Rivenbark took people from Thalian Hall into the streets of Wilmington. Rivenbark scripted the event before he died, leaving specific instructions for how he wanted to be remembered. It started at Thalian Hall with speakers, videos of Rivenbark, and performances. After the ceremony, people filled the streets as a New Orleans-style second-line parade led them to the Wilson Center for a reception. Rivenbark's friend and colleague Shane Fernando says the day was very Tony. A man charged with the murder of a Surf City business owner made his first appearance in court on Friday. When the charges were read to 22-year-old Charles Michael Haywood, he was asked if he understood them, and he nodded his head yes. His first appearance took less than 10 minutes. Haywood is charged with first-degree murder of Margaret Nicole Bracey, who was found dead Wednesday night inside her business, Exotic Hemp Company. District Attorney Ben David says Haywood could face the death penalty. A Wilmington police officer patrolling on a horse downtown was hit by an alleged drunk driver Saturday morning. The officer was not injured, but the horse named Elton sustained an injury to his left leg. 24-year-old Alexis Williamson was charged with DWI, improper passing, and failure to reduce speed. She blew a .19 at the time of her arrest. Elton, who has been with the Wilmington Police Department for 16 years, is going through hydrotherapy for the foreseeable future. And the Wilmington Fire Department officially added a new member to its team this weekend. Wilmington Fire Station 2 introduced its newest crisis dog, Hart, on Saturday afternoon. Hart is the second dog the department is deploying to offer firefighters a way to de-stress post-call, ease tensions at the station, lower anxiety, and even improve heart health. They will also be used on emergency scenes to help provide calm for those affected by trauma. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. First day of school for many students here in the Cape Fear, and going to be a bit unsettled at times, so especially if you live closer to the immediate coastline. We have a coastal trough that's going to be bringing us unsettled weather at times, but not expecting any sort of washout in store for us for the first day of school. Temperature-wise, though, going to be below the average for a change in the low to middle 80s for both coastal and inland communities. As for tonight, drier conditions will stick around as our temperatures fall to the low to middle 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
This week on All Things Brunswick, we're welcoming special guest Danny Ricciani to discuss being a gay conservative in today's environment and many other topics. All Things Brunswick, 6 p.m. Tuesdays, right here on the Big Talker Network.
Oh no, our roof is leaking and hurricane season is right around the corner. Don't let a leaky roof keep you up at night. Protect your home. Call Best Choice Roofing to schedule your free, yes, absolutely free roof inspection. Best Choice Roofing works with insurance or can repair the roof before the next storm, whether it's a full replacement or a repair. Choose the best. Call Best Choice Roofing at 910-228-5000 or go to bestchoiceroofing.com to book your appointment today.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
I have coffee. I do. I really do. Welcome back to the Asylum right here on the Big Talker Network, bigtalker.live. Please visit the website, download the app for Android and iOS devices, peruse our schedule of content, and please send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques you may have. And as promised, another real adult. I mean, this is kind of nice. I have friends that are adults. Mr. Paul Valone from the... I'm going to get it right. Grassroots, North Carolina. See, I have 2 neurons left, and they're cooperating. He hosts the show that airs on Saturday morning. The neurons that tell me what time are not with me. But it's a good show, and it's the part that really gets me is their work on going into any given election with slate cards. That work is just amazing. But you have a whole new subject that has nothing to do with that this morning.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. Some might question the adult thing, though. I don't know. It depends on who you ask.
You use better sentences, more complete sentences than I do. And you're not relying on student loan forgiveness to get through the month.
Hallelujah. Anyway.
So you have a subject that I know nothing about.
Well, it is something that I delved into on my show, which, by the way, is, let me see, Saturday at 1, Sunday at 5, weekdays at 11.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you. I'm going to write that on the wall.
You should. Under the Obama and Biden administrations, we have seen the weaponization of federal law enforcement agencies, not against terrorists, but against mainstream Americans. And that's what I address in the last part of my show. And by the way, the first part of my show, I interview Kevin Jackson. Kevin is a former Fox News contributor. He has his own nationally syndicated radio show, the Kevin Jackson Network. And he's been a documentary filmmaker, and he's a comedian. And they're actually bringing their unapologetically American comedy tour with 3 comedians to Chapel Hill. Right now it's scheduled for September 16th, although he said they are planning to postpone that date. But they can check out the Kevin Jackson Network.com/comedy, and it'll come up with all the details on the tour. But at any rate,
we need some comedy in our lives right now.
Oh, these guys are funny too. I mean, it's really politically incorrect humor, the kind of stuff that you used to see on late night before they all became a bunch of bitter leftists and spouting their screed. Anyways, but I digress.
How do you really feel?
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
I'm going to take assertiveness training. I think I need it.
Are you sure you don't need one of those tolerance classes?
Yeah.
We'll get you a rainbow robe.
The best have tried. The best have tried. Somebody wanted to send me to anger management at one point, and the anger management counselor said I don't need anger management counseling, so that ended that.
But he needed self-defense training, apparently.
Oh, I got a lot of that. I got a lot of that. People used to say, with all the way you tick off the left, you ought to be careful. They might come after you. And matter of fact, on what is it? There's a blue NC or something like that. This discussion network for leftists, and they were physically threatening me. And somebody who had penetrated their forum told me that they were physically threatening me. So I used an alias to create an account and logged on and pointed out to them that threatening somebody who's been through 24 defensive firearm training courses, up to and including advanced defensive handgun for small group protection, and who is a federally licensed, a federally deputized law enforcement officer is perhaps not such a good idea. And that, frankly, if anybody did come after me, they'd probably go home in a bag. But that's just
I was going to say, that does sound like an invitation to demise.
Mm-hmm. Again, I digress. This weaponization of the federal law enforcement agencies is nothing actually all that new. Back in the Obama administration, we had Lois Lerner, who weaponized the IRS, using it to systematically deny nonprofit status to Tea Party and other conservative organizations. One of the people they went after was Catherine Engelbrecht. Now, I don't know if that name means anything to you. I actually saw her, attended one of her breakout sessions at the Civitas Conservative Leadership Conference a few years back. But she is the founder of True the Vote. True the Vote is the organization that did the cell phone tracking using cell phone geofencing, I guess, to determine that at least 2,000 ballot mules influenced the 2020 elections by stuffing ballot boxes. And that actually became Dinesh D'Souza's movie, 2,000 Mules. But, of course, the IRS under Obama tried to prevent her from getting nonprofit status. And, in fact, they didn't just use the IRS against her, but they used the FBI, OSHA, and the ATF. Then, of course, back in 2016, we had the FBI abusing the FISA warrant system. That's Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, okay? The secret star chamber meeting proceedings that began after 9/11. And under the Bush administration, I will grant you. And I opposed it at that point in time because the fact that it would be abused was inevitable. So they used these FISA warrants to spy on then-candidate Donald Trump, but not just then-candidate. They continued to spy on him after he was in the White House. and in fact even lied on the FISA warrant applications about the source of the information, the so-called Steele dossier, in order to get these FISA warrants. Then, in June of last year, we saw the Department of Homeland Security ignoring a year of violent riots by Antifa and BLM, and they submitted a report and a national strategy for dealing with domestic terrorism from what it defined as domestic violent extremists. And who do you suppose the domestic violent extremists were? That would be white supremacists, which by the way they define it now is all conservatives, and militia violent extremists, which they have more recently defined as anybody using the Gadsden flag or referring to 2A for the Second Amendment. So pretty much anybody who supports the right to keep and bear arms. Or then we had last October, when the Department of Justice, in an apparent response to the National School Board Association that wanted the DOJ to invoke the Patriot Act against parents, specifically parents who opposed critical race theory or this gender ambiguity sexualization of children that the LGBTQIA plus community seems bent on thrusting upon us. So he issued a memo. Merrick Garland issued a memo, DOJ, threatening to have the FBI investigate parents. Now, Merrick Garland now denies that, but I think the memo was pretty clear, by the way. And then, of course, we had just a few weeks ago when documents leaked to Project Veritas depicted how the FBI considers anyone who displays that Gadsden flag I was talking about, Betsy Ross flag, uses 2A, we're all militia violent extremists. Okay?
Nothing gets leaked. That was not leaked.
That was not leaked? Well, no,
it was released. It was released through channels and called a leak, but this was not an accident.
Why would they want to do that? Because that only draws attention to their agenda.
It's the same reason why they released the Roe v. Wade decision 6 months early. It's obviously
you're a conspiracy theorist.
Oh yeah, they're trying to get a pot stirred up ahead of time, so going into the general election here in a couple of months would just be absolute chaos. That's one thing I have learned from listening more and more as being in this chair, which I don't want to be in this chair. But that more and more of these leaked documents are not necessarily leaked as in accidentally. No. This was handed to somebody to say, look, put this out through this type of format to generate this type of...
I'm not that much of a conspiracy.
I mean, I'm not Alex Jones level, but there are things like this, that there are too many leaks.
What I think you're looking at are people that don't agree with the militarization of federal law enforcement agencies. We've now got 14 FBI agents who have come forward and said that Christopher Wray is burying the Hunter Biden investigation. We have another whistleblower FBI that came out and, I forgot what that one was about. But I think these people are probably largely whistleblowers who just aren't buying the politically driven agenda in some of these federal law enforcement agencies.
Now, wasn't Wray appointed by Trump?
He may have been. That's a possibility.
So that's an interesting conversation that he would be against his own boss.
I think Donald Trump made a lot of really bad decisions because he didn't realize the extent to which the deep state was as deep as it truly is. The depth of the swamp, if you will. I mean, consequently, he had, James Comey trying
Roger
to undermine
Stone.
him. It had George Brennan, the communist head of the CIA. But anyways, so on the weekend of August 6th and 7th, I described some of this stuff, and I referred to the FBI as the Gestapo, and you disagreed with me. But on Monday morning, they proved me right when they raided Mar-a-Lago and ran an utterly unnecessary and highly dubious search warrant on the former president of the United States. Now, that does not include, you brought up Roger Stone, that does not include the pre-dawn SWAT-type raid with AR-15s of his house, perp marching him out in his underwear in the front yard. It does not include putting Peter Navarro in leg chains at Ronald Reagan Airport for the horrific crime of refusing to participate with Nancy's sham congressional hearings on the January 6th. Okay, and it doesn't include the seizure of the cell phone of Congressman Scott Perry while he was traveling with his family. Okay, all of this indicates very clearly an FBI that has been weaponized for political purposes. It is now a political arm of the Biden administration.
So how about a new rule?
Just like any banana republic.
So how about a new rule
Yes.
for every representative, every red representative that they bust and put into chains, they must do it to a blue. So we could have Pelosi answering for her millions of dollars at the same time that we have Roger Stone answering for whatever they had him for. And then we would have AOC in jail for whatever it is that she needs to account for in a, you see what I'm saying? To sort of balance it.
It's a lovely pipe dream that both of us know would never happen.
I'm working on it, man.
Power would never allow it to happen.
I'm chasing my own dream, and that's one of them. So,
but it's going to get better. It's going to get better because now, of course, thanks to the deliberately misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, we are now going to give the IRS $8 billion to create no fewer than 87,000 armed IRS agents. So once again, as I said on my show, I guess that means if you cheat on your taxes, they will come shoot you.
But I have a question on what was that? How many million or billions going into IRS?
8.
Now, what is the job of the IRS? To bring in money, right? It just seems kind of ludicrous to give them $8 billion when it's their job to generate and create that income. I just don't. That one just sort of escapes me at a level of logic.
That depends on your motivation. It depends on your objective. If your objective is to actually have them bring in money, no, spending $8 billion is probably an inefficient way to do that. If your objective, however, is to put the American citizenry under the federal thumb, it's quite effective. So,
I'm still.
But as I went on to say, though, nowhere have these abuses been more brazen than with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. I will call them the ATF. Now, in recent months, they began a zero-tolerance campaign. Joe Biden and Merrick Garland announced this, by the way, against a non-existent entity they call rogue gun dealers, okay, as though gun dealers are selling guns illegally to criminals on the street, which is nonsense because all of them are tracked by Form 4473s. There are no rogue gun dealers. There are gun dealers who've been in business for a long time and are big and sell a lot of guns. And so because it's like having a car dealer that's been in business for generations, would you expect more of his cars to be involved in DUIs than somebody who only sold 3 cars last week? Of course.
Well, it depends on the car.
Yeah, well.
Because if you're building speed machines, I get the point, but there is going to be some obfuscation of these events.
Well, first off, few gun dealers sell only one type of firearm. So,
and the people that are selling to the criminals are generally criminals themselves. So going after any legitimate license,
they're generally stolen or bought on the street. Absolutely, it has nothing to do with federally licensed dealers. But I know lawyers in North Carolina who handle all these revocations by the ATF. What they're doing right now is if you have a single paperwork error on your Form 4473s that the buyer has to fill out every time they buy a firearm, one little paperwork error, and they will revoke your FFL. And they're doing that with a lot of them. I think it's a 500% increase in revocations recently. So then, of course, they've put out pending regulations that make it all but impossible for owners of AR-15 style pistols to determine whether they're legal. Those are pending, by the way. There's one already out that redefined what a firearms frame or receiver is, making it much more difficult to comply with the law, and also virtually ending privately made firearms that have been legal since the inception of our republic. Then we have the ATF bypassing Congress. And the constitutionally mandated legislative process by reclassifying things. Okay.
Oh, that is a neat trick.
they reclassified bump stocks as machine guns, which they're not. And that was what opened the door, because now they're reclassifying things like forced reset triggers, and that is a particular brand of trigger. It only fires one bullet per depression of the trigger, but it does allow you to accelerate your rate of fire. They've decided those are machine guns, even though they don't meet the definition of a machine gun.
Unless we change the definition of a machine gun. I mean, we changed the definition of a recession, so...
Yeah, there you go. And as a matter of fact, that's a very good analogy. It means whatever we want it to mean today. Whatever.
That's the whole English language, man. I mean, we have over 600,000 words, depending on which dictionary you use.
No. I've been through this process. Back when I was an airline pilot, probably 20 years ago, they decided to combine pilot and flight attendant cockpit resource management course.
I find that to be a little weird because the lady making the coffee and the guy doing the ILS approach are two different levels of process.
Well, they are correct. They are correct in saying you have to coordinate as a crew, front end, back end. But anyways, I had a flight attendant instructor. She stood up before the class and said, "Well, words mean different things to different people, like men and women." And I said, "I don't know about you, but I got a Webster's dictionary says exactly what a word means. Any other definition is just wrong." I was not popular. Anyway,
it's a good thing you're already married.
Indeed. Well, actually, I'm not married to the woman I was married to then. It took me 3, but I finally found a keeper. And then, of course,
she picks you up at the range.
Oh, she shoots with me. You kidding me?
That's
she
what
shoots
I'm.
Well.
Those who target together stay together.
Absolutely, she's taken some pretty advanced firearm training courses with me, including probably the worst of them was called 3 Bad Days. That's what Kevin Dylas, Blue Ridge Marksmanship up in Burnsville. He teaches a number of courses. BlueRidgeMarksmanship.com. I strongly recommend the guy. And his 3 Bad Days course is not for the faint of heart. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I mean, that just sounds like a weekend on Bald Head Island. I'm sorry. Was that out loud?
You got an agenda going on. You got a thing about Bald Head Island.
This weekend, oh yeah. I don't know what they did, but that transportation company is absolute garbage. I did not mean to hijack your conversation.
No, that's quite all right. But anyways, now next were solvent traps. Solvent traps they were designed to capture, solvents when you're cleaning machine tools and whatnot. But what they were doing is people were actually legally converting them to sound suppressors or silencers, okay? And they would get the Form 1 and, go through the process with the ATF. Well, now the ATF has decided that the solvent traps themselves are sound suppressors by reclassifying them. And the interesting part is with these forced reset triggers and the solvent traps, they are now going door to door to people and demanding that they turn them in or face prosecution. Or if they insist they don't have it, they want them to sign a document saying they no longer have this thing. ATF is now knocking on people's doors. We had one guy who is a firearms collector, and apparently they decided, and how they knew this, because I'll tell you shortly, this shouldn't be possible to determine this. But they decided he was buying too many firearms and he might be an illegal, straw sales kind of dealer. And they showed up at his house asking to see the firearms. Okay? Now, I say it shouldn't be possible because under the computerized National Instant Background Check System, transaction records are supposed to be expunged within 72 hours because the ATF is prohibited by law from creating a national gun registration system, both under the McClure-Volkmer Act, Firearms Owners Protection Act of 1986, and the Brady Act of 1993. They are prohibited from registering guns. Yet, after another leaked document came out showing that they had a lot more transaction records in their files than would be expected, Congress did a FOIA request, including our own Congressman Ted Budd, who's now running for the United States Senate. I strongly recommend that people support him. They did a FOIA request and determined the ATF responded by saying that, oh, yes, we have nearly 1 billion records, of which the
There's only
vast
300
majority,
million people here.
1 billion records. To be exact, 920 million. 870 million of those have been digitized, thoughtfully enough. Now, the question becomes, how did the ATF get all those transaction records? And by the way, that number has tripled since 2016. So they're not allowed to maintain the transaction records from NICS, okay? And the Form 4473 you fill out when you buy a gun stays with the dealer in his bound book. And in fact, the ATF gets them only, and by the way, dealers has been only required to keep them for 20 years. Although the ATF thoughtfully just changed that, saying they now have to keep them permanently. Now, in theory, these 4473s go from the dealer to the ATF only when the dealer goes out of business. Okay, so obviously they have to be illegally retaining the NICS transaction records, just like Janet Reno tried to do back in the 1990s, by the way. And they're in the process of creating an illegal gun registry. And in fact, they're so brazen about it that a Mesa, Arizona gun shop, this snippy little, and they've got this all on video, snippy little ATF agent comes in, and they're like, you guys normally schedule an appointment for this. We got some stuff going on. Can we reschedule this? And she goes, well, I could just take your federal firearms license if you like. And then they have video of her going through their bound book of Form 4473s and using her cell phone to photograph every page, not just pages with errors, every page of the book. Okay, now imagine how many ATF inspectors are doing that right now in different gun shops around the country. And what you see is an ATF that no longer even cares what federal law says. They're just going to do whatever the hell they want. So,
well, it sounds like people need to get involved the next time the polls open.
Indeed.
That seems to be our only recourse, right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, in some cases, you can use litigation.
Because you really don't want to go after an ATF or a FBI agent. I mean, chances are you'll lose that battle. So it's either court or ballots, right?
Legally speaking, you can do it because the makers of the forced reset trigger are taking the ATF to court, and there are plenty of lawyers who will do it. So legal action is one means to accomplish that goal. Political action, of course, is another. But as we've seen, the problem with that course of action is that the deep state doesn't go away just because you elect good people. Unfortunately, these unelected bureaucrats who really run things are determined, they regard you, the American citizen, as a peasant. And their goal is to consolidate power. That's it.
And get reelected.
So, it's long been a favorite to bypass the Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the use of the military for domestic law enforcement by militarizing federal agencies. Bill Clinton did it with the IRS, the EPA, even the Department of Education. I kept a firearm boarding pass that I got when I was a captain back in the 90s for armed firearm boarding pass for a guy from the Department of Education. Okay. But at no time in our history has an administration so thoroughly weaponized the federal government against its own people, okay? And yet just this week, the old great uniter there, Joe Biden, while once again denouncing Republicans, had the gall to call Trump supporters semi-fascists. As I finish up my show by saying, well, Mr. Biden, to steal from a line from the comic Pogo, we have met the fascists and they aren't us.
Wow, I can't wait for your show this Saturday. This is going to be an absolute riot. This is going to be phenomenal. Man, thank you for joining us this morning and giving us some insight.
By the way, that's the show that's running right now this week. So they can, they can dial in at 11 o'clock if they want to hear it.
Yep, about an hour from now, and you can get updated on, wow, that's pretty heavy. Man. Wow. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry I have to dump out to get to the rest of the morning program, or else we'll talk right over your show. And
Not a problem.
That won't help us.
No.
But I might buzz you sometime later in the week to see what else is coming up, all right?
Okay.
I mean, we'll definitely, I won't surprise you. Yeah. Won't be like, hey, buddy, you're on the air. Yeah, we'll coordinate something. Yeah.
Well, all right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a commercial break joined by Consumer Choice Radio, Guns, Politics, Freedoms, All Things Brunswick, and then back to some original singer-songwriter music so that everybody feels, like a human. It's the arts that keep us alive. See you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. You're tuned in to the Big Talker Network, Wilmington, North Carolina's premier internet station for news and talk radio programming. Find us online at bigtalker.live.